Well, welcome to the final quarter on CBS 8 Streaming. John Howard here, along with the illustrious Karthik Venkatraman. And the man that you cannot see off camera is Mr. Jack Hull. So if you're wondering what the Hull is going on here, it's Jack on the controls. We're going to talk Padres. We're going to talk San Diego Football Club and San Diego Wave FC as well throughout the half an hour. Before we jump into it, Karthik, any initial thoughts off the top of your head?
About anything, or are we talking?
Sure.
Are we jumping straight into Padres? If we're talking about anything, I got to battle through this headache through this show, John. I took a Tylenol before popping in here. Hashtag not sponsored with that. You know, I'm trying to get going real quick. But yeah, if you want to get me heated up real quick, we can talk about the San Diego Padres here in a second.
And we are going to talk about the Padres, and let's set the table. Currently, as we speak, they are 3 games below 500, 50 and 53, 3.5 games out of the final wild card spot, and perhaps more importantly, they've got to jump 4 teams in those 3.5 games to get that final spot. And since the All-Star break, they are 2-5. So my initial question for you, Karthik, is going to be, should they be buyers or sellers with the trade deadline coming up? But to set this thing up even further, let's take a listen to what Heath Bell had to say. I Zoomed with him earlier this week, so the numbers are a little bit off when I talk to him, as you'll hear. But here's some thoughts from Heath Bell, the former closer for the Padres. Okay, Heath, 12 games to go until the trade deadline. 2 games below 500, 2.5 out of the postseason. Should the Padres be buying or selling? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of hard because, next year there's supposed to be a lockout, maybe a shortened season. What I think they should do is kind of sell, but also buy. So, and I hate to say it, but you need to trade Mason Miller. You can get maybe a starter and another bat. If I was going to do something, I would try to trade for the Yankees and see if they would take Bogarts and Mason Miller and give me a starter, and I'll take Volpe. I know the Yankees have a lot of good young starters, but I don't know if they're actually going to take on Bogarts' contract and give you a good young prospect for many years.
Let me also ask you about Manny Machado, a career batting average 270. He's hitting 200. Why has he been unable to make the correction and find a swing?
He worked with somebody that's never worked before. Really bad decision, unless other people in the league have worked with him, but Manny won't say who it is. I respect that to a point, but I wouldn't. Why would you go to somebody that doesn't have another somebody that's done really well in the big leagues? Manny's got some power, this and that, but I would put Manny in the 5th spot because he doesn't have the average. He still hits for power. Just move him down the lineup just a little bit.
For the frustrated fan who says, look, we're over 100 games into the season, he's batting 200. When do we start treating this guy like the 200 hitter he is and have him hit 8th or 9th instead of 3, 4, or 5?
The farthest I'd ever put Manny was 6 because, he's one of those guys. I think 5th and 6th in the lineup is in the middle where you don't get that many at-bats, but you're not that guy that you don't want up in key situations. And 7th, 8th, 9th, there's no, he shouldn't be doing that, really, because, he can make a difference in the lineup.
All right, Heath, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, Karthik, we got a little down a rabbit hole with Manny Machado there with Heath Bell, but let's get the ship steering in the right direction of being buyers or sellers. Your thoughts, the Padres, here we are with, 3.5 games out of the wild card spot. Should they be buyers or sellers as we approach the trade deadline?
John, I'll do you one better. I'll go towards both at some point in time, but I'll answer your question first. We'll start with buyers or sellers at the trade deadline regarding the San Diego Padres. Look, we're getting close. August 3rd's coming up right around the corner, and the Padres have somehow gone 3 games under 500 since the All-Star break, and yet they're still right in the thick of things, Mr. Howard, and it's kind of crazy. The fact that they were losing games early coming out of the All-Star break and were gaining position. Now they're broken even to where they were going into the All-Star break, but they had gained position. They were just 2 games back after, not playing particularly well coming out of the All-Star break. It's hard for me to say from a 30,000-foot view the Padres should buy because this team is very inconsistent in a lot of ways. Starting pitching's not consistent. We saw that today against the Atlanta Braves after they got a 3-0 lead. Bullpen wasn't consistent the other day because I feel like outside of the high leverage arms, I have a hard time trusting particular guys in the bullpen. And then, one day they scored 19 runs. The next day they go and score you a couple runs. It's this inconsistency within this team over and over and over again. And it feels like any other given night, one of the inconsistencies rears its ugly head. And that's why you see a Padres loss. And so when I look at that from my 30,000 foot view, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're in the thick of it, mostly because other teams aren't really handling their business.
Right.
But at the same time, this team's not really getting the job done that makes me believe if you go buy at the trade deadline that you're going to get that much better. So I would say, yes, I do agree with Mr. Bell in the sense that you have to sell to buy, but I don't think Mason Miller is the guy that I would probably sell unless you're going to get like an absolute haul, or as our friend Jake Garriani likes to say, a Godfather haul as this thing goes on. Adrian Morejon may be a guy that I would consider more in trading because you still get high value, a lefty that throws 100 miles per hour, could go to another team and really contribute for them in their bullpen or, be as their closer even. So I see him more as a possible trade aspect, for the Padres as we move forward. But at the same time, if I know anything about AJ Preller in my not super long time working here, but have observed, he doesn't make just one move. So I'd be really interested to see.
Well, I'm going to predict, I think they should be sellers. I don't think this team has earned a spot at the table where, if they get all upset that the Padres manager waves the white flag, the players have only themselves to blame. They have not played well enough. And coming out of the All-Star break with a record of 2-5, they continue to not play well enough going into the trade deadline here. And I look at AJ Preller, however, I'm going to predict that they'll be buyers because I don't think AJ Preller can contain himself. He always has to be doing something. But the big X factor is the new ownership group that is not taken over yet. But I would have to believe AJ Preller really kind of has to get permission of the new owners. How much can I spend? What am I willing to do? Can I sign any players, et cetera, et cetera? So I'm predicting they will be buyers, but I feel they should be sellers. Let's briefly take a quick look at the schedule coming up. And Karthik, these are the games leading up to the trade deadline. I would think at this point, AJ has already made up his mind whether he's going to be buying or selling. But there are, about 10 games yet to be played before the trade deadline hits?
Yeah, look, they were supposed to beat the Royals in a series. They didn't. I thought they should have split with the Braves. They didn't do that either. So now I really feel like you definitely got to go win the one against the Marlins. And then you got to really take care of business against the Rockies and the Giants. One thing that I will say is I just don't think the Padres are going to be full sellers because this team, every single time they send out a press release about anything, they say, our goal is to win the World Series. Our goal is to win the World Series. If they go complete sell, that's not going to happen. But real quick, because I know we're running out of time in this block and I need to address it. Everyone keeps talking about Manny Machado. And yes, I understand he didn't perform well at the beginning of the season. But if you look at his last 30 games, John Howard, and this is where I have to disagree with you and Heath, over the last 30 games, the man is batting .275 and batting a near 1,000 OPS. 30 games is a pretty good sample size, I would say. And on top of that, I wouldn't move any farther down the lineup because he's the one guy who's been hitting home runs for you on a consistent basis, maybe other than Ty France lately, but he's been performing really well. I think he still needs to stay in the heart of the order there. I think the Padres need to do a better job of being more consistent in all their areas if they want to start winning baseball games.
Well, that's why we present you fair and balanced coverage, because a guy like Karthik is going to find out that over the last 30 days, Manny has been playing, what did you say, 275?
275 and near 1,000 OPS. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
And that's basically what his career batting averages is in the 270s. So, but, the first 3.5 months of the season make you wonder, come on.
Correct.
All right, that's enough on the Padres. Coming up after this short timeout, we look at the San Diego Football Club, who was back in action last night with another game this weekend as they come off their World Cup hiatus. All right, welcome back to the final quarter. John Howard along with Karthik Venkatraman. The San Diego Football Club is finally coming back and playing some matches after basically a 2-month hiatus with the World Cup being played. And Karthik, your thoughts. This is a team that had an amazing inaugural season last year, and now this year in their sophomore season has absolutely struggled. And last night in their first game back after the World Cup hiatus, they did not do too well.
I'll tell you what, thank goodness they got those 3 wins early in the season to bank them in and get them to where they are right now, because this team is struggling. And a big reason why is because they keep choking and giving away these matches. John Howard, what happens once again? 0-0 draw going into stoppage time in the second half. And what do, Johnny boy?
They allow goals to be scored.
And if I had $1 for every time this team is allowed a goal in the 80th minute or later, I may be a millionaire at this point for what they've done this season, John. It's been not good. They've cost themselves so many points. I went and looked through their season the other day just to see how many goals they've given up in the 80th minute or later and how much it's cost them. John, it's given them up 5 wins and 2 draws for a total of, I think, if I do the math correctly here, 12 points. If you had 12 points to their total points right now, they're at 17. You braze them up to 29. You don't even have to give them all. They'd be one of the better teams in the Western Conference of the MLS right now. We would have a whole different topic of conversation and vibe about this team when we talk about them. Instead, we're talking about every single time that they take the pitch, it feels like they choke away a match. They give away a win. They give away a draw. It's tough to watch this team right now. And the way that they let up that goal yesterday, and I believe it was like the 6th minute of stoppage time yesterday, they all looked just so dejected after that ball went into the net. I mean, it's a mental thing, at this point. To have gone 16 matches through your season, to have given up, I think I said 7 matches during that time in which you've given up a late goal that's cost you a result. That's almost half of your matches. This team has to be feeling pressure at the end of matches. Okay, this is the end. We got to get it done. But that adds that much more. You're not in your full focus. And I'm not going to speak for them because I'm not inside their heads, obviously. But that's the way it feels. How else can you explain giving up this many late opportunities to opposing teams to let them get the job done against you in very crucial moments of the match? It's just not good enough. It's something they talked about coming out of the international break from the FIFA World Cup, that they wanted to stop this. And it's not stopped in one match just coming out of the break.
Yeah, no doubt. They obviously have a problem with finishing games, and they just can't seem to get it done. Let's hear from Coach Mikey after last night's game.
We play against a very good team. We knew it was going to be difficult. We're playing altitude. And I think our boys put together a really mature and structured game. Really smart when we could press really high, creating some situations that were advantageous for us, but also knowing that you were going to get broken at times, and then having a nice mature mid-block where we can control the space and maybe create some counter-attacking situations, which maybe we would have wanted to be a little bit more aggressive there, but overall I think it was really good. And then I think we did well dealing with their high press. The first half we had difficulty turning those breakthroughs into clear chances. Second half we start to create some very clear chances. And then ultimately, the game comes down to the end of the game. We have to be more organized on a set piece when there's a minute or 30 seconds left, especially when there's subs coming in. So we have to do better on that.
So there's Coach Mikey with his thoughts after the game, and I got to believe he is experiencing a different thing. I really thought he had established a culture last year, but some of that culture maybe doesn't seem to be wearing off and wearing into this season, Karthik.
Well, I feel like part of it, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but because of their culture, they are in the position of where they are now. They decided that Chucky Lozano was no longer going to be a part of this team because they chose their culture over one person in the way that they acted in a locker room. So this is what they've gone by, and I believe adding a guy like him into the mix definitely makes your club better, but they've not been able to move on from that. They've not been able to get another left winger attacker because of that whole entire situation where they haven't been able to transfer him yet to get another designated player into the mix. But even then, I just keep going back, and I appreciate Coach Varas there, talking about all the positives of the team. You can't keep ripping on your team for giving up the late goals. You have to find a way to find the positives out of the match to keep building, and I totally understand that on his end. But on the outside looking in, because we're not part of the club, it's truthfully okay for us to be like, okay, this team's got to figure it out in late match scenarios because they just haven't figured it out, and it's what's costing them, because not only are they costing themselves points, John, there's a lot of left in the season, but if you want to build confidence, you got to get the job done.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also from last night's press conference, Coach Mikey with some entertaining sound, I thought, talking about the officiating. Here it is.
I just don't understand what the referee is thinking in the non-penalty call. Beginning of the season, they clearly told us if somebody's holding or tackling somebody in the box and not making eye contact with the ball, meaning just playing the player, then they would call these penalty kicks. And we take them for their word that they're going to do that. We let the referee know that Colorado fouls pretty much on all set pieces. They're meant to be very aggressive. It's their style of play, and that we ask. He got defensive and told us that he did his own research. Then, of course, we have the play where everybody can see that Yepe is tackled to the ground and Yepe is the target on this play. The VAR calls him to the monitor, and at the end of the day, I can give a lot of sympathy for referees because it's hard to make calls at the speed of the action that the team plays in. But when you get to go to the monitor and you have your VAR team telling you it's a penalty kick and you still find a way to convince yourself that it's not, then I think it's just unacceptable. But it is what it is, and we have to eat it because now it's talking about it much more isn't going to help us.
Well, I haven't heard word yet if Coach Mikey Varis has been fined for those comments, but I think if in any other league a coach said that afterwards, probably would be fined. Karthik, you heard anything? And
yeah,
should he
for
be
sure.
fined?
I mean, if that's how he feels about the situation and he feels like his team should have earned a penalty, which would have, obviously given them a great chance at getting a goal in the game, obviously nothing's guaranteed, then I don't mind him saying it. I mean, if the call was wrong and he feels that the call was wrong, he should state that he thinks that the call is wrong. If he feels like it cost his team, I get it. And I get all that. And that goes in there. And I know he didn't say it in his opening statement, so I'm not going to act like he's using it as like a scapegoat for why they didn't come up with a result or anything like that. But at the end of the day, those are the calls in the game. If it doesn't go, you have to keep playing, and I get it. You want that call, especially if it's in the box and it gives you a chance to score in a game that was, really tight at the end. It was a 1-0 final, and that goal ended up costing him big time. So, I don't blame him at all. If that's how he feels, a coach got to stick up for his team, man. A coach has to stick up for his team.
He does, and it kind of brings up the topic, should there be another referee on the field? That's something discussed during the World Cup, but something we will chew on at another time. Let's take a look at the standings in the MLS and where San Diego stands. And I've put the top 3 there in the Western Conference, and then a big gap for 10 through 15. And Karthik, I think what we take away from this, last year we were talking about, what do we have to do to win the conference? And this year it's a matter of what do we have to do to get to the postseason?
Look, you're only 5 points out of 9th place, which would mean, get you into the playoff picture, and there's 18 matches left to go. So San Diego FC just has to look at himself in the mirror. As I was hoping that break would be a good time for them to look at it and really be able to put all their ducks in a row. But as they get this thing really going, hopefully this is just one rust off the belt kind of match and they can really take advantage of it because they're really, in the scheme of things, not that far out with a lot of matches left to go. I would hate to see what has happened so far this season and the late goals that have given up really tear down the rest of the year because I really feel like this team is talented. They brought up a lot of the pieces that they had last season. I know they don't have some of the pieces that they had last season, but, different guys got to step up. They got to get the job done.
No doubt. 4-7-5, the San Diego FC currently is. Last year at this time, 9-4-3. So again, very different here in their sophomore season. Their next matchup against the Dallas Football Club. Last year they knocked off Dallas 5-0 in May, and then they also knocked off Dallas 3-2 in June. So they've had their way with FC Dallas.
And not earlier this year when they gave up a lead that allowed, that was one of those blown leads they gave up earlier this year.
As we say, we give fair and balanced coverage because every time I'll say one thing, Karthik can balance it with the other. Let's also not forget it's bucket hat giveaway night at Snapdragon Stadium.
Nice.
Okay.
If you want to look fresh and clean, you know where to be.
Jack Hull, do we need to go to the next segment now? Okay, we're heading to the next segment. The San Diego Wave, we'll talk about them. They're about halfway through their season. Stay with us. Welcome back to the final quarter. John Howard here, along with Karthik Venkatraman, and we're going to talk now about the San Diego Wave. They're about midway through their season. By the way, this is their 5th season in the NWSL, 5th season here in San Diego. They have made the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years, including last season. They finished 6th place last year and then lost in the opening round of the playoffs. Karthik, this year looking pretty good, and we'll take a look at the standings in a second. But your thoughts as they are in their here's the standings right now. You look at the San Diego Wave, they look like the San Diego Football Club in the MLS last year, vying for a league championship here midway through the season.
Yeah, they were the top club for a lot of this season, but it's not gone as well for them lately after coming back from a break their own. Angel City was able to beat them. Then they had a draw against the Kansas City Current. that Dudinha loss is going to go big. I mean, she was one of the best goal scorers for this team, top assists, makers for this team, and she's done for the rest of the year. And this Wave team is going to have to figure out moving forward what exactly they want to do. Maybe they found one of those awesome pieces in Trinity Byers, who went through a really tough time having an ACL injury, and really didn't get playing time after coming onto the Wave. Really started playing at the end of last season, been playing this season, but over the last 7 matches, John, she scored 6 goals in those 7 matches. She's been playing phenomenal and really seems to have found her way after graduating from the University of Texas. If they can find people like that to really pick things up with no Dudinha, who was their best player, that really helped them get to that top spot. Now they're sitting where they are, and they got to kind of start figuring things out. They don't want to have like a second half type of drop collapse. I think they make the playoffs either way. But this is a team that wants to keep building, even though they have a major loss to their roster.
Well, I was out at Wave practice yesterday and got a chance to catch up with midfielder Gia Corley. And she was born in Washington State, but as a child moved to Germany, where she grew up in Germany. And, she is one of 8 players on the team. I should say Germany is one of 8 different countries represented on this team. And Gia talked about, in order to continue to play better, they all have to learn how to speak the same language. Here she is.
The important thing here with us is because we are from around the world, like not just Americans and stuff. Yep. So the important part is to build the connections, to speak one language, because not everybody is speaking the same language. We have to build one language, and I think maybe this is our key this year, because it works really well to find those connections and just to understand what the other one needs and to play in our strengths.
Gia, very friendly yesterday, and here is their next matchup. Sunday, 2:00 p.m., Snapdragon Stadium. They're going to take on the Seattle Reign and host them on Pride Night for the San Diego Wave. Last year, at Snapdragon, San Diego Wave came away with a 1-0 win, and they lost at Seattle 3-2. Let's hope they get back on the winning track here on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
Karthik.
For sure. After a loss and a draw, definitely want to get back on the winning side of things. And we'll see if they can continue to pick it up, and we'll see if Trinity Byers can stay hot. That's the player I've been looking out for. But Gia Corley, I said it last year when I was listening to her press conference, the personality that she has and just like the things she says, she's so funny. She's so funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every player I've talked to and met with there has been very professional, very well-spoken, a lot of fun to talk to these athletes. 14 games to go in the season. I think they can win this league title.
It's possible, man. They got to pick it up just a little bit more, though.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, on behalf of Karthik Venkatraman, I'm John Howard, and on behalf of Jack Cole, who's controlling things for us, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on The Final Quarter.